Welcome to Ubuntu University. The times we're in have really created a need for such an institution. It's often been repeated that this generation is a generation of healers. And my understanding of healing has always been that it's people who are gifted. And in African culture, gifts come in many forms. You're a healer if you're a good cook, because soul food is food for the soul. You're a healer if you're a teacher, even if you're a prison guard. So it encompasses life principles and ways of being as Africans that were embraced by our ancestors that still remain true to this day. So, who am I? My name is Amanda Mbali Dlamini, better known as Mbali Jama. And Jama is my family name, so it's a clan name. For most people with the South African context, I always say for Nelson Mandela, Madiba is his clan name. So if you want to praise someone from that clan, you call them by their clan name. And we are the Jama family. I'm a farmer, and I'm also a writer with 6 books under my cap. Um, I don't really want to go much into my education, but if there's one thing that I can never deny is that I'm a proud Zulu girl from the beautiful Zulu nation. My mom is, her family is from Mozambique, and my father is Zulu. And my grandmother, my mom's mom, is also Zulu. I'm a big lover of Africa. I've been all over this beautiful continent of ours and have made so many amazing connections with the places, the people, the energies, and with nature in many of those places. Um, Continuing with my love for Africa, the picture in the center was taken in Olepolos whilst I was living in Kenya. I lived in Nairobi for a couple of years. East Africa was just a beautiful space to be in, where you find an African country where Africans are determining and paving their own way. So, creating their own paths in their fashion, the language, the music, entertainment, technology. It was a really amazing time in my life. And I'm also a student from the Thabo Mbeki African Leadership Institute. And I've also done some consulting work for the African Union. Back to the subject at hand, Ubuntu. I've often found that the term itself has been overtraded quite a lot, and it's now often summarized as being nice or being selfless, which is such a misrepresentation of what Ubuntu is. Uh, but in these next few slides, I'll just bring a couple of ideas. But what I'd like to do over the course of time is actually take you through different elements of Ubuntu. So, Ntu is the God energy, the God self. And Ntu can be expressed in people, in things, in times and places, even in the modality or the way that you engage with all the stimulus around you. So, is it nature? Is it people? Is it your inner self? And ultimately, I believe it's about remembering the celestial love story. So, they often talk about, there's lots of fables about this, about the love story between the sun and the moon and how they were separated, and they said, we'll spend the rest of time chasing each other. And every time it's night, the moon is the moon rises and then is searching in the midnight skies for the sun, and then when the sun rises, she's searching for the moon. And it's about the interconnectedness of everything, light and dark, good and bad. It's the African iteration of yin and yang. um, and it's about how we relate to the world. So I love this quote: "Every act of unconditional love echoes in eternity," and that's partially what Ubuntu is, because it's all about how the God in you inspires the God in the world. And it starts off with that act of unconditional love towards yourself and the God in you. So if Ntu is God and Umuntu is you, you are God in human form. That's very important. You are God in human form. And Ubuntu is how you bring out your godliness in the world. I'm a big fan of the Dagara tribe in Burkina Faso. Malidoma Some and his wife Sobonfu Some, may she rest in peace, um, have done a lot of great work just um, documenting the ways of the Dagara people, and it's so amazing that they're all the way in East Africa, and my existence has mostly been in Southern and East Africa, um, and there are so many similarities between their world and ours. So one of their quotes is that it's true that each and every person on the planet was prayed into existence. So the Dagara people believe that before you were born, you were prayed into existence. And that may be in a literal sense at times, but also sometimes when people pray, they make general prayers like praying for peace, abundance, justice, love, and every soul who's brought into the world and encompasses, or whose spirit encompasses those virtues, is an answer to that prayer. And Ubuntu is one of those concepts that is about the gifts that you brought with you when you made that decision as a soul to come into the world. Um, and it goes two ways. So a lot of what we'll be exploring in Ubuntu University is around the person and their inner world, as well as the world that we live in, the world that has been here for billions of years, that is part of a huge, humongous universe. And we will be exploring the patterns and the lessons within both those spaces. So when we talk about each person being prayed into existence, when it comes to you, um, it's the best version of the do in you and me that this space and time can deliver. That is godliness. That is Ubuntu. And then from a universe point of view, it's the best expression of humanity's contribution to cosmic destiny. And that is a prayer the universe made when you were born. Um, for all the virtues that humanity brings to the world, the ones that you brought with you at that time and place are the ones that the universe had requested. And that's a very powerful idea to hold close to you, because whenever we see the world, it's often in terms of what we project to it. So we make intentions, we dream, we have goals. It's us talking and creating, but we are part of a creation, and within that creation, there is the the create the creator and the reason for creation. So when your desires and your soul contracts intertwine with the universe's needs at the time, that's where your power lies, because the universe is also calling for what you most desire to contribute. So it's a marriage of sorts. Very interesting idea to think about. The concept of normal is one that I was recently introduced to, but I found very powerful. And it's what can be called the God breath. This quote says, when you give name to a particular thing, you simultaneously give it meaning. So normal is that meaning, or that energy, that creative energy that is behind naming. And one of the things that we will be exploring to some extent later on is the idea that African concepts don't have names in a Western world. So there's the idea that as an African, my spirit, my spirit's contract with this world at this time could be singing. But we live in a world where singing to heal broken spirits, that could be my mission. But we live in a world that says you must have a job, that job must give you money, that money must allow you to have fun. And whatever you do, because there is no space or language in our modern world for someone who could happily sit on the side of the road and sing, not for coins or anything, but just to heal the world. We haven't adequately named that. So people who are not fitting with things that have been named already are considered to be doing something wrong. Um, Remember the quote about there's freedom in authenticity. So as we explore African ideas and African concepts, we need to look deeper into the concept of naming, because even with challenges that we face and traumas and healing, you cannot heal what you have not yet identified. So giving things names either empowers them or deflates their power. So when an incident that took years, 15 years ago, has named itself as your life's most memorable moment, for instance, or most significant moment, then that incident has given itself huge power. And for you to detach from it, you need to rename it in a way that empowers you. So, whilst that is a general comment, looking deeper into African names and how Africans named things, there's going to be a number of lessons in that, which I won't go into for now. But Dr. Marimba Ani says something very profound, which is we need to rethink how we think about thinking. And that's because we've been raised in a very westernized world with westernized concepts of being, things that we don't even question. So when a child, 5-year old, comes back from school and he brings a report, the first thing the mother wants to know is, were you the best? Were you better than others? And we inculcate that into people from a very young age to say your worth is determined by how much better you are from others. And Ubuntu is the exact opposite of that, because it recognizes the God in each and every one of us and in each and everything. And whilst most people tend to externalize that and make it about relationships and what you do out there, a lot of it is about how you relate with yourself. Because when you see the God in you, it will affect the way that you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself, what you expect from yourself. But other concepts from the Western world is it's a very isolated point of view of existence. So I came here by myself to do something for me that will make me happy or my children happy. It's very inwardly focused, which is the source of a lot of inner conflict and unhappiness, because as human beings, as a species, we are social species. Um, and when you start to see your role within the bigger human race, there are concepts in Ubuntu that will help you navigate your way around it. And it all starts from normal. So when you have that lonely, misunderstood, un what's the term? Unplugged, but it's not the correct term for unplugged, but isolated human being feeling, where you feel like you're really just wandering through space and time, doing what needs to be done, being told what happiness is, and living in a world that gives you that happiness. Um, you find yourself unfulfilled, And as you study these Ubuntu University ideas and concepts, it'll reawaken something deeper within you, that deeper yearning of your own life's purpose and your own role within the cosmos. But naming is a big portion of it. Even how we name the past, that's why history is so important. The names we give to our great grandfathers and grandmothers, or even the identities or what they represent, is very powerful because that is intertwined with our own idea of ourselves. So, naming is something that we're going to spend a great deal of time unpacking. And this is just the summary of it all, I guess. Our humanity is a reflection of our connectedness to Source. And that's the point I was making just now about isolation, where when we're not connected to Source, we are unable to connect with others. So there's a famous Zulu concept, which I'm sure you'll hear over and over during the course of this, umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. And that means a person is a person because of other people. So the humanity, the ntu in you, the godliness in you is brought out by your engagements with humanity. It's a whole lot to take in, but it's fascinating, mind blowing, amazingly beautiful spiritual stuff that I believe from the core of my being is going to make a difference in people's lives. Just engaging with the content and playing around with the ideas. We are not um, claiming knowledge of it all by any means. We're just exploring the core of our own African spirituality and coming from a spiritual place. Um, I know academia doesn't necessarily make room for a whole lot of that, but the idea with this university is to be a bit different, and for us to step away from the norm into new ideas, into new ways of thinking, and into going to different places for wisdom. That's quite a powerful one that we're going to tap into. The idea of going to elders, hearing them out, and even if they were never educated, they can't read, but just unpacking the wisdom of our elders and even looking at history and nature. Nature is a big teacher, the memory of nature. And for those of us who are spiritually inclined, the effects of nature on our bodies, on our well being, on our ability to heal. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very interesting ride. And even at this juncture, I pay homage to my ancestors, the ancestors of everyone who prayed this particular miracle into existence. And I receive all the help and divine favor that it's going to take take this message to all who need and have requested in their soul.